Okay, guys, so this is the next section, the next reading that we did, which was the change agent from Roger. So we've talked a lot about the change agent in the last videos because it's just sort of an integral part of the decision process, but this is specifically about the change agent. So this won't be quite as long, but it's important just to kind of understand that the change agent is an individual who influences clients' innovation decisions in a direction deemed desirable by a change agency. So the change agency, this is kind of an important part, right? Because that might not be your company. That might be, you know, the change agent's company. So maybe Salesforce. They want that that client rep to influence the company to adopt Salesforce because that's best for Salesforce. So they serve as a link between change agency and client. So they are the voice of the customer. They are the ones interfacing with the field. For effective linkage, feedback from clients must flow back to the change agency. So anything that they find out, so a lot of times, people on the front line dealing with the customers, they get a lot of feedback that helps the change agency to change the product in a productive way, especially when you're talking about that that persuasion decision stage where we really are looking at this product seriously. We're learning how to do it. So those systems engineers that are out there helping clients understand, they're a huge help in getting meaningful feedback back to the change agency because they can give details on what the client thought about this and what the client thought about that. A marginal position sometimes, but not always. So this is something that's going to make a difference. But they must deal with information overload. So a lot of times when you're talking about a change agent, there's a lot of information. You've got a lot of information maybe about new products and the way that the change agency wants you to impact the clients. But then you also have learning about the company itself that you're calling on, that you're interacting with. So there's a lot of information, and you've got to be able to deal with this information in a meaningful way. Otherwise, you're just constantly overwhelmed. Change agent roles develop a need for change. So this is a big part of the sales organization is looking for a reason to change. And generally speaking, when you're dealing with a specific phase company, there's not going to be a lot that the client is going to say is a problem because the company is rolling along, right? We've got rigid processes. We've got a product that people are buying. We're in that stage where they don't want change to take place. So developing a need for change means understanding the business, maybe the future of the business, and understanding how that's going to impact it. Establish an information exchange relationship. So you've got to build enough trust and credibility to where people are going to listen to you. You've got to be able to diagnose problems. So I remember, this was again many years ago because Kmart is a very old company that went out of business a long time ago, but which is, understandable. So I was given Kmart as a responsibility one year, and when I called them up, basically it was, we've got so many vendors, we don't even know what to do with it. The last thing we want is another vendor. So it wasn't like I was going to be introduced in and brought in, what have you got? Let's see, we're really excited. They wanted nothing to do with even a new supplier, let alone another product. So what I had to do was to figure out why they needed our product. And so what I did was I took my systems engineer with me and we went shopping. And we went to Target, we went to Walmart, we went to Kmart, and we just bought what was on our list. So every week we'd go out and we would, look for whatever it was we needed. And what we found was that we bought twice as much stuff at Walmart as we did at Kmart. And, this was over a few months, so it wasn't like we did this once or twice. And so after we looked at these receipts and we thought, well, gosh, that's kind of strange. And there would be no reason why we would buy more at one company versus the other. And so we went back, and now we're looking for why it was we bought more. And what we found was that when we went to Walmart, everything we needed was on the shelf. All the shelves were filled, all the little things with, hairbrushes, everything had product. When we went to Kmart, we noticed a lot of things were missing. So that was that inhibitor, right? That was that knowledge, persuasion gap, right? Knowledge, attitude, persuasion gap. Something's keeping me from adopting this. And it was because it was gone. There was nothing there. So then the next stage, we called the suppliers and we said, here's what we're doing. We're trying to, help Kmart with this issue that they have, and we want to understand why it is that there's so much more at Walmart than there is at Kmart. And one of the suppliers was so helpful. This was the Conair rep, so the hairdryer person. And she said to me, oh, that's really easy. She said, because Walmart has a system at the time, again, this is many years ago, called Retail Link. And Retail Link actually gives me the information that I need to send Walmart what they need. And Walmart had a completely different process than Kmart. Walmart gave the responsibility for filling the distribution centers with product to the suppliers. Kmart did it the old-fashioned way. Somebody would call and say, hey, I'm out of hairbrushes. The distribution would say, oh, yeah, we don't have any either. So they'd call up, and then purchasing would have to place an order, and Conair would have to send them. She said that takes weeks for that to happen. She goes, it doesn't happen overnight, and when we get orders that we're not anticipating from Kmart, we might have to go back to our supplier and start the whole process. Whereas with Walmart, they give them 2 years of trend data through this system, and the sales reps can see. She said, for example, when everybody goes back to school in September, we have this huge need for hair dryers. Well, I know from Walmart that happens, and so I'm able to just send the hair dryers to the distribution center, and Walmart sends a check to suppliers. On the Kmart side, that's not possible. Nobody's looking at these trends, and so I just get an order, which I don't necessarily have, product for, because I can't just order product anticipating that Kmart's going to order from me, because they might not order from Conair. Maybe they'll order from my competitor. So this is this huge cycle. So we discovered this. We went back to Kmart and said, hey, here's what we did. And because of the level of effort that was involved in this business development, process, we were literally handed the business. Of course, we had to get to the right level. I met with the CIO and said, hey, this is what we found. So that diagnose problems part is not a small piece, especially for, complex companies and complex product lines and things like that. This is a big part of a change agent's role, is to help the company understand what they're missing. Create an intent in the client to change. So you have to create this level of urgency, and through that diagnose problems thing, if you do it well enough, it's pretty simple to see where the urgency is, right? Walmart is eating your lunch because they've got a better product, a better process for stocking distribution centers and subsequent stores than you do. Translate an intent into action. So help them to understand that here's the steps that we need to take in order to get you to a better system that you can compete better with your competitors in the market. Stabilize adoption and prevent discontinuance. So this is really all part of that next phase of those implementation people that will help the customer through, phases where they get stuck and they think, oh, we're gonna let go of this, we're not gonna do this. Help them to understand how to do things better and to continue on with the innovation. And achieve a terminal relationship. So this is an interesting part, because one would think that you want to stay engaged with this customer for life, but you don't. You've got to move on to the next customer because they've already paid for the product. There may not be any more money associated with this. And so you've got to, move things forward for the change agency. So you have to create a relationship where you can get out and go on to the next opportunity. So where one would think that the change agent wants to stay, they do not. Their job is to create a situation where the customer can take over for themselves, become self-sufficient, and you can move on to the next opportunity. Change agent success factors. So now we're looking at the elements of a change agent that create a successful environment for them. So effort, up to 30% of adoption is based on the change agent's effort. And, based on the Kmart story, you can say, okay, not everybody does that, right? That's a lot of work. And you've got to have, the business prowess to actually go through the process in and of itself. You have to have a client orientation. So it's not just, you've got to create a trust environment with this client. You've got to feel their pain and help them understand why your innovation is going to help. Compatibility of innovation with the client. So this is where potentially, the change agent has to be able to empathize, be able to understand that these people are probably not as innovative as the change agent themselves. And so they've got to be able to use a language that the client is comfortable with, that's not scaring them. The empathy for what the client is dealing with a lot of this comes from knowledge. I can tell you early on in, when I was a sales rep, I was very frustrated with clients who just didn't get it, because I didn't sell necessarily bleeding edge things, which were scary. I was selling leading edge things that were, well known and well understood in the market. And so when I ran into resistance, I was just very impatient. Like, why doesn't this person get it? Well, now that I understand more about the diffusion process, I understand about laggards, I understand about specific phase companies, I understand that there's no other way for them to react than how they're reacting. And that would help, sales reps have more empathy and be more effective with companies in different phases of diffusion process. Work with opinion leaders, not innovators. Again, this is something a lot of people make mistakes with. Innovators are so excited to see you and they can't wait to see the demonstration. They want to try it out, right? But they are not influential in a big organization that's in specific phase. Innovators are very scary. That level of innovativeness, the way that they talk about things, they are the crazy ones in the company, right? So nobody listens to them. So you need to find opinion leaders, people that are respected within the organization. And opinion leaders might leverage innovators in a different way, right? They would have a little more innovativeness than maybe the regular people in the company, but not to the level of an innovator. But they're willing to sit and listen to an innovator talk about something and then be able to maybe translate for business people. So opinion leaders are really, really important, even though as a change agent, you're really attracted to innovators because they're so excited and they make it so fun. But they're not going to sell that product for you because they're within the company, nobody listens to them. So you've got to leverage them in a way that's effective. Provide demonstrations that are experimental and exemplary so that people can become more comfortable, right? Reduce their level of uncertainty about this innovation and be able to move forward. And the homophilia with client except for innovation. This is, a change agent has to be able to, in some way, kind of morph into someone who's less innovative, right? Someone who can get along with people and speak the language of people who are not necessarily the innovators in the company. So you have to be able to, to just be able to get along with a lot of different people. And that's it for this section.